The desert stretched out like an endless ocean of gold, each dune rising and falling like waves frozen in time. The sun hung low in the sky, filtered by swirling clouds of dust that turned its light into a dim, fiery haze. The wind moaned through the canyons of stone, carrying with it a scent of dry earth and something old or something that whispered of forgotten ages. At the forefront of the caravan walked the one they called the Seeker. Draped in a hooded cloak of sand-colored cloth, their face was hidden, their movements measured and silent. A leather belt held tools of exploration, daggers, ropes, a compass of bronze, so ancient it seemed older than memory itself. Every step they took was certain, as though unseen hands were guiding their path. Behind them marched a gathering of wanderers, mercenaries, scholars, and zealots, their numbers once greater, but now reduced by the desert's cruelty. Their robes flapped in the hot wind, their sandals cut into the sand, and their eyes sunken, weary, yet burning with ambition, were all fixed on the same distant sight. The pyramid. It loomed against the horizon, vast and imposing, its peak fractured and scarred by centuries of storms. Unlike the great monuments known to history, this one bore no name, no record of its builder. Its surface was darker, as if made from stone untouched by time, and partially buried by the shifting sands. Legends spoke of it as the Pyramid of the Veiled Prophecy, a place where the boundaries of time and destiny dissolved, where mortals could challenge the will of the gods themselves. The Seeker raised a hand, and the caravan slowed to a halt at the ridge of a dune. From there, the view was breathtaking, the pyramid rising above a canyon of shattered cliffs, half consumed by sandstorms that churned unnaturally around its base. "This is it," murmured Kale, a scarred warrior at the Seeker's side. His voice was hoarse, yet filled with awe. "By the gods, it's real." "It was always real," replied the Seeker quietly, though their voice carried over the storm. "But reality is not the same as truth. Remember that before we enter." The group exchanged uneasy glances. They had traveled weeks through deadly dunes to reach this place, guided only by scraps of parchment, whispered rumors, and the Seeker's unwavering sense of direction. Many had perished along the way, claimed by thirst, scorpion stings, or the ceaseless hunger of the desert. And yet, those who remained felt their suffering was about to be rewarded. The prophecy remembered, around a small campfire sheltered by the rocks. As dusk began to fall, one of the scholars, Ashan, a thin man with parchment skin and wide eyes, spoke the tale again, his voice trembling with excitement. "They called it the Book of Aeons," he said, staring into the flames. "A script forged not by men, but by those who came before. Whoever reads it shall command the threads of destiny itself. Empires would rise at their word, kings would kneel, and even death would bend." "And the curse?" a mercenary woman asked, tightening her grip on her spear. Eshen's eyes darkened. "The curse is the price. They say none who sought it ever returned whole. Some vanished into the sands. Others were found eyes hollow, mouths frozen in screams. The desert remembers their folly." The fire cracked. Silence fell over the group, save for the howling wind that seemed to laugh in mockery. A Seeker finally spoke. "The book does not grant freely. It devours. It twists those who are unworthy into shadows of their greed. Yet still men chase it." "Why then?" asked Kale, his gaze sharp on the Seeker. "Do you chase it?" The Seeker's hood turned slightly, revealing nothing but darkness within. "Because some things are too dangerous to remain. If the book exists, it must be found. If it can be destroyed, it must be destroyed." A murmur spread through the group. Some nodded, others frowned. Already, divisions formed between those who sought power and those who sought prevention. First signs the night deepened, and the storm grew restless. The sands shifted in strange patterns around the pyramid. Swirling not with the wind, but as though drawn by something beneath dotted dawn, the caravan descended into the canyon. The cliffs rose high on either side, carved by ancient hands into pillars that seemed to watch the intruders. The air was thick, hard to breathe, and the closer they came to the pyramid, the more the silence pressed against them. Then, with a thunderous crack, the sands at the base of the pyramid exploded outward. A massive stone gate, hidden beneath dunes for millennia, began to grind open. The ground trembled, sending men stumbling. Dust and pebbles rained down as the colossal slabs of stone shifted aside, revealing a yawning black maw of an entrance. The group froze. "It opens for us," whispered one of the zealots, falling to his knees. "The gods themselves call. U.S., or it opens to devour us," muttered Cale. The seeker stood unmoving, cloak whipping in the storm. They watched as the shadows stretched from the pyramid's mouth, reaching like hands across the sand. At last they lifted a hand and pointed. "Inside," they commanded. The threshold torches were lit, their flames struggling against the swirling dust. Step by step, the caravan approached. The air grew colder, heavier. The nearer they drew, the more oppressive the silence became, as though even the desert dared not breathe here. Standing at the threshold, the seeker placed a hand on the carved stone. Symbols writhed across its surface, glyphs of forgotten gods, etched with such precision they seemed alive. For a moment, the seeker felt them pulse beneath their fingers, like a heartbeat. "This is no tomb," the seeker whispered. "It is a prison." The words unsettled many. Some whispered prayers, others cursed, yet none turned away. The hunger for what lay beyond was stronger than fear. With a final glance at the desert sun, the seeker stepped into the darkness. One by one, the others followed, vanishing into the pyramid's maw. The moment the last trace of daylight was swallowed by the closing gate, the group found themselves enveloped in a silence so profound it felt alive. The only sound was the crackle of their torches, their flames licking nervously at the stale air. The walls pressed close on either side, carved from blocks of stone older than memory, their surfaces covered with glyphs that seemed to shimmer faintly when the firelight passed across them. The seeker led the way, steps slow and deliberate. Every footfall echoed strangely, as though the halls stretched far beyond the torchlight, and yet the air was suffocating, thick with dust and the scent of decay. "This place is wrong," murmured Eshan, the scholar, clutching his satchel of scrolls. "The geometry, it shifts, the angles aren't natural. We walk straight, yet the walls bend." Cale grunted, keeping one hand on the hilt of his curved blade. "It's stone, scholar, nothing more. Ghost stories don't kill, knives do." But even his bravado sounded hollow. The labyrinth of stone, the corridor sloped downward, branching into a maze of passageways. The seeker paused at each junction, studying the glyphs with gloved hands, tracing their meaning. They whispered fragments of translation. "Path of blood. Only the worthy. Turn back or be devoured." Each phrase unsettled the group further. Still, they pressed on, driven by greed, faith, or the seeker's unwavering presence. The first trial came swiftly. They entered a vast hall, where the floor was a mosaic of black and gold tiles, glimmering faintly. Statues of jackal-headed figures lined the walls, their obsidian eyes glittering. "A test," the seeker said, voice steady. "Step only where the golden path leads." Before anyone could protest, one of the mercenaries scoffed and strode forward. Across the black tiles, there was a sharp hiss. The ground beneath him opened in an instant, swallowing him into a pit of spikes. His scream was short, cut off as blood splattered the edges. Panic surged, but the seeker's raised hand silenced the chaos. With slow steps, they guided the group across the golden path, each tile creaking underfoot yet holding firm. By the time they reached the far side, sweat clung to every brow, and fear gnawed at their resolve. That was only the beginning. The seeker murmured dot whispers in the dark deeper they went, torches burning low. Strange whispers began to echo along the corridors, indistinct yet persistent. At first, it was like the sigh of wind, but soon words emerged, carried on unseen breaths. Turn back. Yours is not the destiny. Leave while you can. The zealots began to murmur prayers, clutching charms to their chests. One fell too, his knees refusing to continue, trembling in terror. Coward, another spat, but when they tried to drag him forward, the shadows swallowed him whole. One heartbeat he knelt, the next his body was gone, leaving only his spear clattering against stone. The group recoiled in horror, torches raised high, but the shadows revealed nothing. Do not answer the whispers, the seeker commanded. They hunger for fear. No one argued. The chamber of phantoms hours seemed to pass, though time felt warped. They entered another chamber circular, its walls etched with countless eyes that seemed to follow their every move. In its center lay a bridge, spanning a chasm so deep that no torchlight could reach the bottom dot. As they crossed, the air shimmered. Shapes emerged, phantoms of loved ones long dead, of enemies, of desires. One mercenary saw his lost child reaching out. With a cry, he sprinted forward, arms outstretched only to plummet screaming into the abyss as the phantom dissolved. One by one, illusions appeared, clawing at their minds. Some fell, others wept. Only the seeker walked untouched, their gaze fixed ahead, their grip on reality ironclad. When they reached the far side, only half the group remained. The rivalry's fear gave birth to tension. In the flickering torchlight, arguments broke out between the mercenaries who had lost comrades, the zealots who believed this was divine punishment, and the scholars who wanted to retreat before it was too late. Kale stood firm, glaring at them all. We've come too far. There's no turning back. Whatever lies ahead is ours to take. The seeker's voice cut through the noise. Greed will be your undoing. This place feeds on division. Or maybe, snarled one mercenary, eyes narrowing, you want it all for yourself. Hands drifted toward weapons, but before violence could erupt, a grinding noise shook the chamber. The wall ahead began to shift, revealing another passage. The pyramid itself seemed to demand they continue with no choice. They pressed on, though. Mistrust now poisoned every glance. The door of blood at last, they reached a massive chamber. Its walls rose higher than the eye could see, carved with depictions of men bowing before a throne of shadow. At the far end stood a colossal door of obsidian, sealed with crimson runes that pulsed faintly. As though alive, Eshin the scholar trembled. As he studied the glyphs, it says the way forward demands a gift of blood. Not death, perhaps, but before he could finish, one of the mercenaries seized him from behind, slitting his throat in a spray of crimson. Aishan's scream echoed as his body collapsed, blood spilling across the runes. The others gasped in shock. You fool! Kale roared, striking the murderer across the face. It demanded a willing sacrifice, not murder. But it was too late. The runes drank the blood greedily, glowing brighter, throbbing with power. Slowly, the door groaned open, grinding apart. To reveal a staircase descending into blackness. The seeker stood still, silent. But within their hood, their jaw clenched tight. The pyramid had not demanded, it had manipulated. It had set them against each other, and the mercenaries' betrayal had played directly into its hunger. The staircase spiraled downward into the earth, each step echoing like a drumbeat in the silence. The torches flickered violently, as though resisting the oppressive air. The survivors, fewer now, wearier, and on edge, clutched their weapons and charms tightly. None spoke. Words felt dangerous here, as if uttering them might awaken something lurking in the walls. Cale's jaw tightened as he walked close behind the seeker, eyes narrowed in suspicion. The zealots muttered prayers under their breath, voices quivering. Every so often, a low vibration thrummed through the stone beneath their feet, as if the pyramid itself was alive and breathing. Hours might have passed, or perhaps only minutes. Time was meaningless in this descent. Finally, the air grew colder, fresher, carrying with it the scent of dust, ash, and ink. The staircase opened into a cavern so vast it seemed to stretch beyond imagination. Torches struggled to illuminate even a fraction of it. Colossal pillars supported the vaulted ceiling, carved with swirling constellations that shifted as one looked at them. Never fixed in place, and in the cavern's heart rose a dais of black stone. Upon it stood the obsidian throne, tall and imposing, its arms carved with serpents devouring their own tails. Resting on the throne's seat was a book. It was unlike anything human hands could have crafted. Its cover was forged of obsidian inlaid, with veins of gold that pulsed faintly like living veins. Symbols that no tongue could pronounce shimmered across its surface, rearranging themselves when glanced at. Even from a distance, its power was palpable. The Book of Aeons, the guardian as. The group gazed upon it. A ripple passed through the chamber. The torches dimmed, shadows stretched, and from the darkness before the throne rose a figure. At first it seemed human-clad in tattered robes, face hidden beneath a hood. But as it stepped forward, the illusion fractured. Its flesh was translucent, its bones glowing faintly beneath, and its voice was like the grinding of stone when it spoke. Another flock of seekers, it said. Another march of fools to feed the hunger. The survivors recoiled, weapons raised. "What are you?" Cale demanded, though his voice betrayed fear. "I am what remains of the first," the specter replied. "Once I too sought the book. I reached it, I touched it, and it unmade me. Now I am its guardian, bound to ensure no unworthy hand claims it, yet powerless to prevent the cycle of greed." The seeker stepped forward, unflinching. "What does the book offer?" The guardian's hollow gaze fell upon them. "It offers nothing. It takes. It devours your will, your soul, your past and future. It twists desire into chains. And still you come." As if to punctuate the words, the book shuddered, its pages fluttering, though no wind stirred. The cavern vibrated faintly. Visions of power suddenly, the chamber filled with light. Each survivor gasped as visions bloomed before their eyes, perfect, vivid, undeniable. One zealot fell to his knees, tears streaming as he saw himself crowned in divine light, leading nations to glory. A mercenary sobbed with laughter, beholding mountains of gold spilling from her hands. Cale stiffened, his sword trembling as he beheld his family slaughtered years ago, alive once more. Smiling, calling his name, the seeker alone stood unmoved. For them, there was no vision, only silence, but the others. Their breaths grew ragged, their eyes wild. "This is what we came for," whispered one mercenary, stumbling toward the dais. "It's real. It's ours." The guardian roared, a sound like shattering stone. "Fools, it feeds on your longing." The seeker's truth before the mercenary could reach the dais. The seeker raised their voice, cutting through the madness. "You chase shadows," they said, pulling back their hood at last. Their face was warm, scarred by countless journeys, yet their eyes burned with a fire untouched by illusion. "I did not come to claim the book," the seeker declared. "I came to end it, to break the cycle." The words hit the group like a hammer. Cale rounded on them, fury blazing. "End it? After everything we endured? You would destroy the very thing that could change the world." "The world was not meant to be changed by mortal hands," the seeker replied. "This is not a gift. It is a weapon, one that consumes all who touch it. Look at him. They gestured to the guardian. This is your future if you reach for it. But the mercenaries and zealots were no longer listening. Their eyes were locked on the throne, madness whispering in their ears. The revolt chaos erupted. A zealot screamed and charged the seeker, blade raised. Kale, torn between rage and grief, drew his sword. The chamber dissolved into violence. Steel clashed, torches fell, shadows writhed. Cries of pain echoed through the cavern as brother turned against brother. The guardian moved like a phantom, its hollow hand seizing one zealot and draining him into dust. Another mercenary struck at it, but her blade passed through like smoke, only to turn against her in the phantom's grip. Through the madness, the seeker fought with purpose, parrying, dodging, never striking to kill unless forced. They cut down. One attacker disarmed another, but the numbers pressed. Blood stained the black stone floor. The Book of Aeons began to awaken. Its pages turned of their own accord, cliffs glowing with molten light. A storm of sand erupted from nowhere, swirling through the cavern. Shadows lengthened, taking shape figures, half human, half nightmare, crawling from the walls. The survivors screamed, caught between each other and the phantoms. Enough! The guardian thundered. Do you not see? You feed it. Your greed is its feast. But they could not stop. Desire had consumed them. The seeker's stand, the seeker pressed forward through the chaos, eyes fixed on the throne. They felt the book calling, its whispers curling at the edge of their mind. You could wield me. You could end suffering. You could undo death itself. For a heartbeat, temptation stirred. Visions flickered an unbroken world, peace eternal, destiny remade. But then they saw the guardian, bound in agony, cursed for eternity. They saw their companions tearing each other apart, blinded by hunger. And they saw the truth. The book was not salvation. It was the chain. Gritting their teeth, the seeker drew closer, fending off shadows and men alike. Kale blocked their path, sword raised, his eyes burning with grief and fury. If you destroy it, he snarled, my family stays dead. I won't let you. Their blades clashed. Sparks flew. The fight was brutal, desperate, each strike fueled by conviction. But the seeker's will was unbreakable. With a final twist, they disarmed Kale, sending his sword clattering across the stone. Do not let it take you, the seeker said softly, though Kale only glared with hollow eyes. Behind them, the book's glow intensified. Its storm grew wild, lifting bodies from the ground, tearing at flesh, howling with laughter not human. The chamber roared like a storm inside the earth. The Book of Aeons thrashed upon the obsidian throne, its pages whipping open and shut with unnatural force, glowing brighter with each turn. The air was alive with power, crackling, searing thee. Lungs of all who still breathed. Screams filled the cavern mercenaries. Zealots and scholars alike, torn apart by shadows made flesh. Phantoms rose from the walls, each the echo of a soul the book had consumed through the centuries, their mouths stretched in endless cries. The seeker stood before the dais, hand hovering just above the cursed tome. Every fiber of their being screamed against the pull, yet the whispers wormed into their mind. Take me, the book hissed, though its voice was not one, but many thousands layered atop one another. Wield me, and all you have lost shall be restored. Death will bow, time will bend, nations will kneel. Visions struck like lightning. A world of peace, a future unmarred by war, faces of the dead restored. For an instant, the seeker's hand trembled. But then they saw Kale, kneeling on the stone, clutching the air where his family's illusions had been, eyes hollow with despair. They saw the guardian once a seeker like them, bound eternally. Neither living nor dead, cursed to serve the very evil they had tried to master. The Seeker's jaw tightened. "No more," they whispered. The Guardian's plaive. Guardian staggered closer, its form flickering between man and shadow. Its voice was raw, desperate. "You must decide," it rasped. "Claim it and become its slave. Destroy it and take my place. The book cannot be unmade. It can only be bound with a soul." The survivors froze at those words. The remaining zealots recoiled in horror. A soul? Then let it be one of them. One shouted, pointing at the mercenaries. "No," the Guardian thundered. "It demands the will of the one who reaches the throne. None but the Seeker may choose." The Seeker stared at the book, breath steady despite the chaos. They had known, deep down, from the moment the desert called them. This was never a quest for glory, nor even for discovery. It had always been a burden they were fated to bear. The final battle, the storm of shadows surged, slamming against the survivors. Zealots fell, shredded by phantom claws. A mercenary cried out as she was dragged screaming into the darkness. Only Cale remained standing, blade clenched tight, eyes burning with rage and grief. He staggered to his feet, blocking the Seeker's path. "You will not take this from me," he spat, his voice cracking. "My family waits. If you destroy it, their souls are lost forever. I'll kill you before I let that happen." He lunged, steel flashing. The Seeker met his strike. Their blades clashed in a storm of sparks, each blow echoing in the cavern. Cale fought with the desperation of a man clinging to hope, every swing fueled by pain. The Seeker fought with clarity, each parry measured, each strike controlled. Around them, the pyramid shuddered, stones splitting, dust cascading from the ceiling. The book's laughter rose, mocking, feeding on their conflict. "You see?" Cale roared. "Even now it grows stronger. You can't stop it." The Seeker's blade locked with his, their eyes meeting. "I won't stop it with power," they said, voice steady. "I'll stop it with sacrifice." With a sudden twist, they disarmed him. Cale stumbled back, chest heaving, weapon clattering. Against the stone, the Seeker did not strike the killing blow. Instead, they turned toward the throne. The choice the book throbbed, alive, its glow blinding. Its whispers grew frantic, pleading now, almost fearful. "Do not destroy me. Take me, wield me. You are strong enough, I have chosen you. Together, we can end pain forever. Together, we can rule destiny itself." The Seeker lifted their hand, hovering over the book's surface. The chamber hushed, as if holding its breath. Even the shadows froze. Cale crawled forward, voice broken. "Please, if not for you, then for me. Let me see them again. Just once. Don't take them from me again." The Seeker's hand clenched. Every temptation, every promise, pressed into them like knives. The vision of peace shimmered at the edge of their sight, radiant and flawless. But peace bought with chains was no peace at all. The Seeker slammed their palm upon the book. The sacrifice light exploded. The book screamed not with one voice, but with millions, a cacophony of despair and fury. Shadows writhed, collapsing into dust. The cavern convulsed as cracks split across the throne. The Seeker's body arched as energy poured through them, burning, tearing, rewriting. Their scream joined the chorus, not of despair but of defiance. The Guardian staggered back, eyes widening. They bind it to themselves. The Seeker's flesh glowed, their form unraveling into light. The book's pages flared, then turned black, one by one, before sealing shut with a thunderous clap. Chains of fire erupted from the ground, wrapping the tome, binding it in runes of sacrifice. When the light faded, the throne was empty. The Seeker was gone, but in their place, a new figure stood wreathed in shadow and flame, eyes burning with eternal fire. The new guardian. The curse had chosen its successor. The aftermath silence fell. The storm dissipated. The shadows dissolved. The cavern, though cracked and broken, grew still. Kale knelt before the throne, tears streaming down his face. The book, bound in chains, no longer whispered. The guardian's hollow voice broke the silence. "It is done," it said. The cycle continues. One has taken the burden, so the rest may live. Kale looked up, trembling. They sacrificed everything. Yes, the guardian replied, its tone heavy with sorrow. As I once did, and as the next shall, when greed draws another to this place. The remaining survivors, what few there were, gathered their torches and fled. The pyramid groaned, sealing the chamber once more behind them. Epilogue centuries passed. The desert reclaimed the land, burying all but the pyramid's broken peak. Travelers whispered of a storm that forever circled its shadow. Some said they heard voices carried on the wind pleading, warning, tempting. Around distant fires, storytellers spoke of the pyramid of the veiled prophecy, and of the one called the Seeker, who walked willingly into the jaws of eternity. On nights when the moon hung low, wanderers swore they saw a figure cloaked in shadow standing at the pyramid's gates, eyes glowing like embers, watching. The guardian waited. The book still pulsed. And the desert whispered, ever patient, ever hungry.